have any network at all.
Mm.
Yes.
All right. So let's begin. So you don't really have to switch off your mic so that I can hear you that you are here, because sometimes I might teach you and whereas you are not around.
Yeah, I won't switch it off.
You said you are also doing cos 1512, ne?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Have you already started with the classes for 1512?
No, not really. Like normally for cos 1512, I want to make it 30 days class. So I wanted to start that time, but I just realized that like I just need 30 days with them, exactly 30 days. So I'm gonna reschedule them starting maybe. I will let you know also.
All right, no problem.
Yes, for now, because next week you see is course 1511. So I want to, for programming, I want to focus more on with you guys with those who are writing course 1512 level for now.
Okay.
Yes. So with arrays, ne, for 2 dimension, it's like you work with an, it's like, let's say if we have an array for, we want to write a matrix, ne?
Mm-hmm.
A matrix like 1, 2, 3, and let's say 4. Let me just use 4, 5, and 6. So this is two. This matrix, it have how many? It have 2 rows and it have 3 columns, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, in order to write something like that, with matrix, you must use, with arrays, you must use a 2-dimensional array. When you use 2-dimensional array, if we are using, we can have an array of int matrix like this. So it must have 2 squares. So the first square is for rows, ne? The second square is for column. So our matrix, that one I was writing, it have 2 rows and it have also 3 columns. So when it have 3 columns, we can also declare this array inside here. You can use a brace. So when you use a brace, the second brace that we're going to put is going to be the first row, ne? We can put 1, 2, 3 with a comma. Then we're gonna separate it with a comma. Then the other row is gonna be 4, 5, 5. And take into account that I also separate these rows by comma, but the column inside is like 1, 2, 3 going down, because vertically it's a column. So horizontally is what? It's a row. So that is how we do it. So this matrix that this array that I've just wrote now is an array of, two rows and 3 columns. So if I have to access, let's say 1 array, this array, because it's using in arrays, it start with index of 0, ne?
Yes.
Then it goes to 1. This is rows, it's gonna say 0, 1, 2, ne?
Mm-hmm.
Then in 0 we can say 1, 2, and 3, ne? Then we're gonna say 4, 5, and 6. So now I'm gonna write another numbers this side. We're gonna have a rows is 1, ne? The second row again is 0, the first one, and the second one is 1. So now with this, ne, you can see that, okay, this is a colon going down up like this. Is a colon, it's a colon, it's a colon, and going this side vertical, horizontally, it's a row. So if I have to access this element, which is number 1, it's element 0, 0, which means in my matrix, I can say C out matrix, I put a square 0, 0, is going to output this 1. So if I want to access 6, ne, it's like it's 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's in row 1 and column number 2. You see that, which means in order to output 6, I'm gonna use 1 and 2. So to prove you that now, as long as you have seen it, we can do it like this. We can say matrix. We can use matrix. I can say 1 is a column number 1, row number 1, which is row number 2. In index form of reading is number 1. Then is column number 2, which is exactly in elements is column number 3. So now if I want to output this, it's going to show me 6. Sorry. So it's telling me there is some issues there. Maybe it's because I just erased a lot of things. I didn't put into main here. You see that when we build and run our code, it shows number 6. Ne?
Yes.
So if you want to output, let's say you want to output all these elements, ne? You use the nettest for loop. When you use the nettest for loop, our for loop is good. We're going to, I think I taught you about the nettest for loop. You can use any variable, like you can say int I equals to 0 into I is less than or less than what? The first for loop ne, is going to be for the rows. You use 2 into what? I plus plus. I plus plus. Then we're going to have the inner loop. The inner loop you're going to is for a colon. So we're going to use, you can use any letter, you can use int x or you can use int j. I will use int j for now. I just love j. And then j is less than 3 into j plus plus. So this is an inner loop. In our inner loop here, we can say, okay, we are going to print our matrix. When we print, we just say cout matrix, the name of our array. Then after that, the first one is going to be for I, the first box. The second one is going to be for J. Ne? You can maybe create something like this, ne? Just for a space so that there can be a space when it print. So now when we have done that, outside of this inner loop, ne, we can you can just say cout, so that when this one, the first, when it execute this, ne, is going to be for a first row.
Okay.
So after that, when we use cout, when it's execute false, it's going to come to cout, it create a new line. Ne? We use an end line. Then it's go back again, it repeat the same process until this statement, the outer loop. I think with this one, you know, until the outer loop is false. So now if we run our code, you will see that it's printing endless sum, is printing endless. Okay, I just made a mistake. I was supposed to put j here, and then let me just run j. I put I there. You saw that. So now let me build it. You see that is printing 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes, so it's how the array. This is when you are using one-dimensional array, you only use one for loop. Ne?
Yes.
When you are using a two-dimensional array, you're going to use the nettest two loops, the outer and the inner loop. So that's the difference. So even the question for your cos1511, they won't really go deeper in such a way that they will ask you a question that you won't understand.
So they won't ask me to like write a code.
No, they can just write like you. We're gonna see that when we are doing question papers, but they will just ask you a normal question. But you have to know how to work with this. If you understand what I'm doing now, then it means that even if they ask you any question about two-dimensional, you're gonna be able to answer it. If they ask you how to access this variable, you know how to access like a variable like this. If they say, for example, you have to input, ne? We have to input the data instead of like this way. Ne? Maybe a user have to input. If the user have to input, you just, in this program, I can just delete this side here. I will put a comma. Then I'm gonna change this loop to be like for input now. Ne? I will just, let me just not I'm just gonna change here to be Cin. So this one is going to output. I will just use this Cin. I will just say Cin. This loop is going to input the numbers or the elements that the user will be entering. You see, it's the same thing, it's just the smallest changes. So if you still have to input, let's say input those data, you can also like output them. Let's say, for example, I'm just gonna copy again this format as if when I'm doing this one, I'm assuming that you understand it because of I taught you about the nil test for loop. So if you understand the nil test for loop, there is nothing much that you need to worry about here.
Okay.
You get my point?
Yes.
Yes, there is nothing much that I will say you have to worry about because it's the same thing as net test follow the way I was working. It's just that now, instead of declaring too much, you only use an array to declare them. So in that question, you see, I have an input statement. I'm still using J and what? J and I and J. I will write a C out here the same way that we did the first time. For Cin, I didn't put a C out because we are just want the program to input the data. So this is a way of writing a matrix of 2 by 2. If you want a user to input, you still use the nettest for loop.
So I can just write Cin for to be able to input the data.
Yes, it will be able exactly the way you see how I did it here.
Okay.
Yes, this is how you do it. So the questions they want when you are answering, when they ask you in the exam, they want to know if you understand what you are doing, you understand the module. So in cos1511, they want to really know if this person qualifies to go to the next step. That's all that they want to know about. So that's why you find that in your question paper, they ask you general questions. So I can say 33, I can say 4. You see, I'm inputting the what? The data. You see that after that, when it's done, it print them the same way as a matrix, the way we wanted.
So you only input them. Did you write C out or is it just C in?
There is a C out. I also have a nettest for loop. I have 2 nettest for loop. The first nettest for loop is for what? Is for C in. The other nettest for loop is for C out. You see that?
Yes. So you write 2 nested for loops for.
Yes. The other one is for C in, the other one is for C out.
Okay.
So if you understand, the most important thing, when you see something like this, something like this, or is it on top here? Let's go to our array. Remember, when you see something like this, is what is a 2-dimensional array. What is all about 2-dimensional array? The first one you must remember, I told you is row and a column. It works like that. Then remember in the array, it works all in both arrays, it works the same. Your index starts at 0, and even here your index starts at 0. But the way you read, I showed you how to read an array of 2 dimensions the first time when I was 1, 2, 3, putting zeros there. How to access and per element. You see, so those are basics that they will ask you.
Okay.
So we're gonna do it when we are doing with a question. We're gonna do that. So if you go to you must also open your study guide. Is it I'm teaching you? Open your study guide. I mean, you must go to your study guide. Let me just do that also, but I just want to check something. You must go to your study guide. When you go to your study guide, check if where is that study guide? Yeah. Check we're going to go together in terms of where is it? Let me check which number is arrays.
It's page 308.
308. Oh, you know, I don't really read your study guide, so I have many years without. I just open it when I'm showing you guys. The last time I read it, I think it was 2018, 2017.
Yeah. It starts at 307 though.
Hello?
It starts at 307.
307, okay. Yes. So now you see, Oh, here is two-dimensional array. Now you can check what exactly the questions. They show you this is kind of like matrix, the way I'm teaching you, see. It's in this is a matrix of how many rows? One, two, three, four, 5 rows, ne? And how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see, you can program something like this, which means one rows you're going to have the brace for the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, and fifth. Then after that, you can program something like this using two-dimensional array, the way I showed you, using the neatest for loop. Then it's going to output exactly this. So let's see what is they're asking here in your study guide. They are showing you now. I didn't write constant int. I declare them inside your array. It is like this way. You see, they are showing you that I declare them instead of writing this. I put 5 inside my matrix, but it's still the same process. Is this that I mean this statement? So when you are going there, now I already taught you how to work with this. Here they will be explaining exactly what I've been saying. You can see you are using the neatest. They're using I and J like the way we use I used I and J. You see that the purpose of the program here, I don't know what is the purpose, why they are doing that. So it will depend. That's why maybe they have speed. That's I want to know why it's like that. Because I'm not working in this program problem. So, but I'm just showing you how it works. So the only thing that I'm gonna tell you, when you are working with arrays, you saw that when I was working with the array of two-dimensional, one-dimensional array, I only use something without empty there. So with two dimension, the last one you must give it the like a variable, the one or how many variable are going to be there. Like here, the way they did it. If you are working with a function.
Okay.
So I taught you an array as an argument, array as an argument in a function. So I'm gonna also give you a small example for two dimension, but it's still the same process. It's still the same thing. There is nothing much you need to know here. I don't see anything like interesting. Not like interesting. I mean like something that I can say is new. There is nothing much you can do this by now by the knowledge that I've given you. You can write something like this. You see it's 1 3 2 1. Then you have to say 1 3. Here they say they gave you this an activity. Maybe you are changing this to that. They are teaching you that. It's very simple. I'm saying it's simple because the first thing, if you are dealing with this, if you don't want to read, you just use my neatest for loop. You print this matrix, that matrix that you saw there. So I just want to see if there is something new. Let me just go fast. Now there is nothing new, so I'm not gonna browse until I think there is nothing new that you need to know. All right, so let's go back to our code block. So now I have taught you this. So I taught you how to write an array as an argument in a function. So let me try to erase some information here. Now, let's say we are creating a function. That function, we say, okay, we want to input, or we want to write this array. We want to return the array or input, like it's a return function. We use a function called int. We call our function array, matrix. Let's call it matrix. This is our function. So in our matrix function, inside the parameter, we have an int. Let's say we say max. This is two-dimension array.
Okay.
Then we have a constant in this function. We have a constant int number like that. So now I can write here in this one, the difference between that one, you just only for one dimension, you just only write this part. You don't include that. So now I can just write inside the number like that, inside the function. Then the rest, it follows that you use the same procedures. There is nothing. If I want to see out in my function, is still the same. It depends on exactly what I was doing there. You do it exactly like that.
Do you write the?
You can put that for loop like this inside. I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. You see, it's the same. It's just that when functions, remember, functions are meant to simplify things like into parts, the way I told you that instead of writing the code in one code in int main, you see, you can create a function that will input the what? The data. Then you create a function that will display the data.
Okay. I think I get it.
You understand it, ne?
Yes. So
Okay.
for the arrays we use the nested for loop, ne?
Yes. For two-dimensional arrays, we use two dimension.
Always.
Yes, always, if you are inputting or you are outputting.
So for the input, there's a for nested for loop, and then for the output, there's a nested for loop as well.
Or what? Yes.
Okay.
So this is how it works with the arrays. So let me just introduce you for something, one concept that we're still gonna discuss tomorrow with this one. So we are going to do a structure. Ne? A structure, it's a you have been working with a data. We have been working with arrays. So we have something arrays, it only group datas of the same, it only groups variables of the same data type. That's an array. So we also have a struct or a structure which group variable of different. It groups variable of different data type. This is called structure. This structure, it must, when you are working with your structure, it must have a name. It must have a name. Your structure must have a name. And at the end of your structure, you must put a semicolon, a colon at the end. So let me just give you an example of a structure. Let's say we have a struct. I'm gonna name it saving. Eh?
Okay.
This is the name of my structure. You put a braces like this. Inside this structure, it's like savings. Let's say maybe it's a bank. I want to find out how much a person, how old is the person, the name, and then I'm going to find out the name of that person, which is going to be string. So it's going to be a string. We can declare it as a string name. Ne? This is a variable. Then after that, I will need to know the age of that person. Age is going to be an int. We're gonna say int age. I'm still going to need maybe to know the salary or the money that is going to deposit. Ne? Or we can use a double let's say a double deposit. We can just say deposit, yeah. So now I have written these variables that I've written in my structure. They are of different data types. They have different data types. The other one is a string. The other one is an int. The other one is double. Do you see that? Yes. So now, after that, I will want to maybe access these variables in my structure. I will go to an int main. When I come to my int main, in order for me to access those data, I must create an instance. I have to create an instance. So create an instance, it means that I have to first write the name. I have to come inside first. When I come inside this structure, it have a name. I must first knock in their name. So the name of our structure is called saving. So I can create an instance that is going to be called maybe saving. I can say saving B. This is my instance. Ne?
Yes.
Now, when I've created it, whenever I want to access, let's say, for example, I want to ask that person or the client the name, I can, maybe I will have a cout name, I will just say enter your name, because here we are just practice, or it's a academic. Enter your name. So now the user will enter, or the client will enter the name. Then when I use a cin to access the name, I will have to first write this word that I have used, and as because this is like an object now. I'm going to say savings D. You will see it's appearing here. Dot, I use a dot operator. When I say dot, you will see that it's asking me, which do I want, an age or deposit or name? So I'm gonna say, okay, I want to access what? A name, you see, name. So it will have captured the name. If I want to ask a user to enter his age again, enter your age, see in again. When you want to get the information, it's no longer the same as when you say see in name. You first with a what savings, the D1, you use a dot operator. What do I want to access? I want to access age. You see. So I will not, you can also enter maybe to access how much the user deposit. So let's say I want to show, I want to say, I can write a statement for see out. I say see out your name. Your name is ne. We use the same method again. We go starting with savings because we have to get in the structure. Dot, what am I looking for? A name. Ne? Then I can even write an end line. So this statement is gonna say, if I put a name, that any name, or I say brilliant, it's gonna say your name is brilliant. You see. So let me run this code with you. It says we have an error, which is here. All right, and then no errors. Say enter your name. I will say Bri. Let's say brilliant. Like that. Enter your age 21. You see, your name is brilliant, even though it's a wrong spelling. So do you see that?
Yeah.
So that's how. So now in the structure,
Also
the
now
only thing for now I want you to remember is that in a structure you can group variables of different data type. And when you create a name of your structure, because I'm still going to teach you about the structure, and when you call them in your int main, you first write the structure, for instance, then you can create any name that you're gonna access those variable inside the structure. And when you want to access those variable inside the structure, you use a dot operator with what a saving the instance that you created and the name which is inside the structure. Okay, you can ask me any question.
no, I wanted to ask you something, but I think I saw why you wrote it. The
Oh,
last
okay.
out statement.
All right. And one more thing, if you are studying, like let's say you come across a question that is difficult, just take that question into account, note it. Then at the end of the class, you can ask me a question about any question about that question that you approach and you couldn't answer. So that I can be, because sometimes I'm just saying that so that if maybe you want to ask, you might need to ask me, you find that I'm not answering you before maybe our class. So just make sure that you take that question into account. Then when we are having class at the end, when I'm done, I will tell you that I'm done. You can ask questions, then you can ask me based on the question that you were trying to solve.
Okay.
Yes. So now you can go and read about the two-dimensional array, maybe also read about the structure, but I'm still going to repeat about with the structure and then other remaining chapters. So I'm assuming that tomorrow, probably I think it's gonna be, I'm gonna finish everything. So tomorrow I might be I will have a very long and tiring day because I want to finish up to wrap up this syllabus tomorrow with you guys so that we work with question papers.
So tomorrow we are going to do it at 1 o'clock because I'm going to
Yes, tomorrow we have to, it must be 1 o'clock if you don't have any problem with your
network.
network, yes.
All right, no
1
problem.
p.m. is 1 p.m. Then we're gonna be fine. Then tomorrow is which day? Have I even forget the days?
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, okay, Thursday, Friday. And you are writing on Tuesday. We still have many days. So
Yes.
even if I start question paper with you on Thursday, guys, Thursday. Let me
think
see. Yeah, on Thursday or Friday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Monday. 4
Friday.
days.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna be fine.
Okay. No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Have a good day. Bye.
You too, Sharp.
You can still, if you have time, 7 p.m. You can still join the other class, the group one. There is no problem with it.
Yeah, if my network.
It's fine. Yeah, just join using the same link.
Okay.
All right.